Hello, everybody. Tonight on Talk is Cheap, we're going to dig into the 1977 Fort Benning UFO abduction. 1,300 active military up in a spaceship. Stay tuned and check us out. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Talk is Cheap, where cheap is talk and talk is cheap. My name's Pete Halbleib. Happy to be here tonight. And to my right is...
Dan Hohlfeld. Yeah.
All right. Nice to see you again, Dano.
Of course. Always is.
Awesome. Who you got over on the other side of you there?
That looks like a man drinking a beer.
It is. Imagine that.
How y'all doing tonight? This is Dusty Long, because you didn't want to say my name.
That's right. I didn't want to mess it up.
We don't know if you wanted to be public with your name anymore.
I'm going to start going by just a blank. You can blur out my face.
And then my name had that black line across it, and it said G at the end.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that nobody will know who you are.
Top secret.
I'm afraid that cat's out of the bag already.
I'm pretty sure.
So, guys, what's new?
Not much for me. Yourself?
It's getting too damn cold.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
it
true.
is.
Damn right. I just feel like winter just got over, summer just started type thing.
Yeah, we never really had a summer.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it, does it?
But
it was out there, though, I think.
There was a couple of good days.
Yeah.
It could have stayed the same way it was in spring, though. I mean, just 70, 80 degrees, maybe hit it close to 90, and then down to like 75, 78 at night. Now, if I can find that place on this earth, that's where I move to.
You'd have to move.
Those couple nice days, it was so nice I just took the windshield off the motorcycle, but... You're gonna have bugs in your face.
Yeah, you want something with a full face shield if you're doing that. Oh boy! All right, hey guys, I got a topic submitted by one of our viewers, Josh Shanks. I think it kind of stemmed, and I don't know, Josh in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, but it may have been kind of a springboard from that Zimbabwe UFO abduction. I believe he had posted the suggestion in the comments of that episode that we did. For those that may not remember, in Zimbabwe, an entire school witnessed a UFO, and I can't remember, it was 30-something witnesses. And, well, Josh said, hey, guys, I got a better one for you you should take a look at. So basically, we're going to take a look at the 1977 Fort Benning UFO encounter, where, according to the story, I will say the story or the account, as many as 1,300 active U.S. military troops were abducted. And this is a pretty crazy story. It's
troops now we're talking.
Yeah, like it was during a live fire exercise as well, and supposedly these troops were abducted. It's got all the hallmarks of all your traditional abduction stuff, you know, time lost, memory things, and things like that. So I guess without further ado, I'll just kind of talk about it.
I know when I was in, we didn't have that much fun.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, I don't know if you'd really,
Actually, if you could get abducted, I probably would have signed up for this.
I think abduction is one of those things where it sounds pretty cool until it actually happens to you, and then the poking and the prodding and the
Well, there's one guy that had sex with that alien.
Yeah,
right. So maybe abduction isn't a bad thing.
Man, there's so much evidence on that one. You can't
that one was crazy.
Yeah.
Yep. This
6 hours.
I had an erection for like 6 hours afterwards, and it was pretty painful. And under my foreskin, I found 2 hairs.
This one, as you'd imagine, with most UFO alien abduction or encounter stories, it lacks evidence. This one involving the military, you can kind of almost imagine the difficulty in getting even what I would consider, evidence above just the anecdotal, here's my testimony. But what's cool about this is there were 2 witnesses or 2 abductees that came forward. And one of them remained active in the military for a long time. I believe one passed away in 2012. The other one just passed away this year, which is kind of weird because most of the articles that I found about this topic, it kind of it kind of just went internet silent at 2011, and you didn't hear much about it. You can't find a ton of articles after that, and I had come across a guy that had been doing some research in it on the internet, and he had posted a couple things on his blog, some updates, but it's very difficult to really find a lot of different information about this incident. And I also tried to go and try to find some evidence that these military men that were coming through, to try to find some evidence of their obituaries, of them serving active service, things like that. I drew a blank on that. I came up swing and a miss. You know, I'm not the best at internet.
Did you? You had their names though.
Yeah, I had their names. You know, where they were stationed, and I just Google searched, thinking that I could just find some random document with mention of them in there or something. I mean, I couldn't even. They referenced when I was reading it, they referenced a couple documents too that were supposedly released through the Freedom of Information Act. I couldn't even find that on the internet. So, you know, the conspiracist in me is thinking that there's like an active. Kind of
blackout.
Yeah, like an active effort here to keep this one. So anyway, the first person I want to talk to, Command Sergeant Major James Norton. He came out and claimed that he had proof of an alien UFO. And I'll start with the story. The other guy we're going to talk about, too, is a guy by the name of John Vasquez. And I have a video of him. He actually co-wrote a book. I believe it was released back 2011, 2012, that time frame. And to talk about it as well. But what's interesting here is we have two folks that were military that came forward with the same story. So back in September of 77, they were doing a Joint Attack Weapon Systems, JAWS, at Fort Benning, Georgia. And for those that aren't familiar with the Joint Attack Weapon Systems, it's maybe Dusty, he's the military guy, he might be. But in my understanding, it's like kind of developing smart weapons. And weapons that would, as they're flying, like missiles as they're flying, would be able to identify, hey, that's an Army tank. And then as it's getting closer, start to look at other details and say, oh, wait, no, that's an American Army tank. I need to find a different target. Or, oh, no, that's the enemy's Army tank. I got to destroy it. So they were testing a system like this.
In
apparently.
1977 they had?
Yeah, yep. And I believe it was 1985 is when their deadline was to complete it. So you can, it was in development for a long time.
So we don't know if they're using it?
As I looked more into the JAWS stuff, it looks like other types of missiles were already in line to replace it. So apparently what we've got out there right now is, this is old news now. They've moved on to some other things in the military. But anyway, they were doing a live fire exercise testing this no joint attacks weapon system. And the entire base, 1,300 people, witnessed this, what basically appeared to be a UFO invasion, because it came down and abducted people. Most of them were left with severe psychological trauma and missing time gaps. So James Norton claims, well, let me finish the story here, and then I'll talk about it. Okay, so it started out, they started the live fire. They saw large orbs way up in the sky. And then the next thing he witnessed was what appeared to be lasers crisscrossing through the night sky. When I looked at the other interviews and stuff, there was like bright lights involved, getting closer, almost blinding. People were getting put to sleep while they were standing there. People would just fall asleep and they'd have to be shaken to be woken up and moved and stuff.
So sleeping, eyes closed?
Yeah, like they were standing though. They would be standing and their head would be down, their eyes would be closed, and they'd be just basically standing up unconscious. Basically, yeah. And that's not unheard of either. You know, a lot of these alien abductions, I couldn't move my body.
Sleep paralysis.
Yeah, sleep paralysis. Absolutely, Dan. You know it.
God, that's weird. When I was I fell asleep at attention. Like standing up, but that was because I was damn tired. But yeah.
Yep.
And but you need something to lean against.
No, I fell asleep in a ruck march. I just kept on walking. I ran into the guy in front of me. I woke up.
Yep. And then there were orbs in the night sky, and they were changing colors. And then a triangle-shaped UFO showed up. So you've got this really crazy kind of account that it has everything. It's got your orbs, it's got your abduction, it's got your paralysis, it's got your triangle-shaped object. Anyway, after they were abducted and they got put back, and people started getting sick and breaking out in these hive things, and not very many people could remember it. It was actually through hypnosis that James Norton remembered it, and that's another common theme too, is that these people repress the memories or have their memory wiped, and through hypnosis they can bring them back out. Apparently, when Norton obtained his medical records, it was disclosed that his illness was of unknown origin. He was running a fever of 104. Norton did experience a memory lapse, and during, like I said earlier, during this hypnosis session, he learned that he was actually abducted and taken aboard an unknown craft, and medical experiments were conducted and samples were taken from his body.
So he had scoop marks.
Yep. Yeah, basically scoop marks. And apparently during this skirmish, helicopters showed up and a firefight ensued and one of these alien vessels crashed. So Norton claims that he had picked up a metallic piece from this crash site, and you couldn't drill into it. If you bent it, it would go back to its shape.
That's the Roswell story.
Yeah, right. Yeah, had hieroglyphs on it. Almost like a carbon copy of the Roswell incident when military people were talking about the crash debris there. So that's pretty interesting as well. He apparently had this piece buried at on his property. Now, I did say that Norton is dead now. Okay. There's another guy. There are two other living witnesses between Sergeant Major James Norton and John Vasquez. And their names are Bobby Garman, Warrant Officer Bobby Garman, and Major Dave Runyon. Okay. Now, apparently on his deathbed, Norton entrusted Runyon with a map showing where this stuff was. And it allegedly, it's a buried ammo box that contains a piece of this UFO, as well as alien/occupant hand. So he actually got some biological evidence with it as well, or whatever logical evidence that they are when they're aliens. Maybe it's not biological, but so apparently he's got a hand and some debris. And the thing is, when Horton was alive, he said he was going to share this with any credible ufologist out there. Just reach out to him, okay? And I don't know if anybody did. Apparently, if they did, they're not sharing anything. But he's dead, and Runyon's got the information now.
But he hasn't done anything with it?
He hasn't done anything with it, to my knowledge. Yeah, I know, right? Paul Dale Roberts is the guy that's had been doing a lot of contacting and investigation with this. And actually, it's kind of funny because I did find David Runyon's phone number and email address online.
You should email him.
Did you email him?
I did not email him.
I would have an heartbeat.
Yeah, so, and it was a 2014 email. So, it might be worth a shot. I don't consider myself a credible ufologist, though. I'm not really that versed.
We're a credible YouTube show that covers
UFOs. Yeah. So maybe that'll be a follow-up that I could do.
This is the perfect platform.
It's better than giving it to a scientist where they just say it's unclassified.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we can do that later, but let us at least bring it out first.
So
and then we can bring out the DeWalt drill and do everything else.
Yeah, right. And see what we can do. So anyway, David Runyon had emailed this Paul Dale Roberts and said, the message was, I have the map of the buried evidence that Jim gave me on his deathbed. I was his CO at the time. Please respond. Major Runyon, and then the phone number. So Paul Dale Roberts, I looked him up too, and I can't find a whole heck of a lot of information, recent, I'll say in the last couple of years that he's put out. But allegedly, as I continue the look, supposedly Norton also had footage of UFOs going from one horizon to the next in just a couple seconds.
Well, everybody's got that.
Yeah, triangle-shaped UFO that hovers over the base. And again...
but if he's got footage, we're talking like handy cam, blotchy crap.
Yep.
So that's pretty much discredited.
Right. So anyway, that's kind of the backstory. Now, what's interesting is I had said that there was another witness that came forward. And I want to kind of share a couple excerpts from a video here. Dan, can you switch us over, bud? So this is John Vasquez. And this was a guy that was there at the time as well. And I want to just kind of share some excerpts from this YouTube video. This is as told by John Vasquez, the incident at Fort Benning.
Vasquez says he and hundreds of troops were engaged in combat with aliens.
We got fired at with something unusual. Bright, intense light streaking across at us, hitting some of the people.
These aliens were here for a reason, an abduction.
The slab was levitating.
Aliens placed John on a slab-like table for examination.
And then I glanced to my left and I see rows of men on slabs.
God, we got to be kind of careful that this isn't like a my lab thing, especially with them being in the military and maybe they're testing. Maybe this was before they started doing it on the public, military abducting people, making it look like aliens.
Sure. You know, it's funny you say that because there were also some other speculation kind of articles that came up saying that this was yet another test of military mind control and manipulation as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it could play is kind of the same thing, you know, abduction, mind control, you know, it can be played into the same thing. But yeah, good point, Dan. We have to be careful of this because, you know, the government's
really good at
pulled some tricks in the past, so to speak, right? So, well, let's continue here. I just want to just kind of continue. I wanted to talk about that because he had claimed that there was multiple people on slabs.
How can so many people be involved and you're the only one that remembers?
Well, I may not be the only one that remembers.
So I may not be the only one that remembers, okay? Again, kind of your classic military involvement. Some of the stuff that I've come across online, there was a person who referred to themselves as Ocelot, was in conversation with this Paul Dale Roberts guy, and apparently he got cold feet when he noticed black sedans out at the end of his driveway and was said, basically, I'm out of here. I'm not going to risk it. Other people were told, you know, if you talk about it, you're going to be court-martialed and sent up the river and nobody's going to see you again. So, you know, to John's point here is that there might be other folks. I even tried to pull a list of the soldiers that were allegedly involved in this event. I couldn't find anything like that online. The only people that I really know that I can even kind of confirm, I don't even call it confirming, that are involved in this is this Dale Runyon, right? Dave Runyon, excuse me, John Norton and John Vasquez.
I thought I was bad.
And
with
James
names.
Norton, yeah, James, John, and then I've got Paul. So anyway, so Dave, James, and John are the only ones that really have anything to that are
3 guys out of 1,500.
1,300. Yeah,
wow, yeah, that's a lot.
You'd think you'd get some more folks involved, and maybe they will. You know, you get those deathbed confessions and stuff.
When
right?
was this confession?
When 2012-ish. I'm not exactly sure when this was. It probably
quite
says
a while after.
Yeah. This guy died, I think, in 2012 of heart failure. Surprise, surprise, right?
What happens?
Yep. So okay. So anyway,
So what happens when you tell the truth?
How can I ask a quick question though?
Sure.
How long did this supposed firefight and everything happen? Because
Yeah, were they shooting back? Were they shooting at
they're
it?
talking
Yeah, because
about
helicopters came in.
Yeah,
came in.
That's my question. If you had, like, I understand the missing parts and areas of time, but if there's 1,300 soldiers out there and UFOs come streaking down and start abducting people, throwing them on slabs, and then doing these things, and other people are still apparently conscious because they're trying to wake up their buddies, and then they start fighting.
Yeah.
How can they take the samples from people if they're running around trying to fight Apaches and everything else?
Right. Yep. And it's funny you say that because we'll take a look at an interview. It's a transcribed interview from John where he kind of talks a little bit more about the events. And it's a little different than what the James Horton story said.
Oh, is my jumping ahead then?
No, not really. It's a good question. I think it's a good time to ask it because in John's account, the live fire hadn't started yet. They were standing at attention in formation. And it wasn't until they saw the lights and the lasers and stuff that people started running around and hiding, and that's where they were waking them up, and then that's when they started getting their weapons and engaging them and stuff.
Lasers?
They had seen what looked like laser lights going across the
like stormtrooper blasters.
And but no, it was just lights like that looked like beams of lasers.
But that's from the UFOs?
Yeah, from the UFOs as they were coming over. And the whole account must not have taken that much time because they said that, and at the end of it, we'll talk a little bit about it in a minute. At the end, they were all, even after they all ran and stuff, all of a sudden they all started coming to, and there they were standing back in formation. But John said we were all mismatched. I started in the 4th row, but when I came to, I was in the 2nd row. And people were wondering, hey, are we going to do this exercise? And then people started getting sick and falling down. One of the CEOs crapped himself and stuff. And then that's when they said, no, we're done. We need to go off. So we can flip through that in a minute.
Sounds like an ayahuasca trip.
Don't know what the hell that is, but it sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. So it's interesting. I'll have to look that up. Oops.
You don't want to crap yourself.
Oh. Okay.
I guess that happens after you do that.
Oh, I'm good without then.
Okay,
but it's worth the trip.
Let's try this.
Out. A surprise visit by the Army Secretary to Fort Benning that September.
When we asked about it, everyone said it didn't happen, and then we would check files and find out that it had happened.
Soldiers coming down with a mysterious case of measles.
We are supposing that those people in the battle were sent off to the hospital.
At that same time.
So there's that mysterious case of measles or whatever that the people came down with as well. So
before we go on any farther, I saw that big ass huge rear projection computer monitor. So that's giving me that's pretty old.
Oh,
so we're probably looking at 2002 or earlier.
Okay, good. So it's old information, pushing 15 years old now, right?
Yeah, at least. Yeah. Probably older than that.
Which is kind of interesting that not a lot has happened in the past, even few decade or so. It doesn't seem to have gained much traction. Maybe as more stuff gets released, we'll find out more. So, Dan, take me to the last website here that we have here. Okay, so here's basically it's a transcribed interview, interviewed by Graham Birdsall. He was the editor of the United Kingdom's UFO magazine, and this was in '98. This interview took place. Again, we're familiar with this: mass abduction, hard evidence. September 2nd, 1977, which I want to bring up as well. I've had conflicting reports of the date.
Oh yeah.
Some say September 14th. Some say September 2nd. All in 1977.
Well, we know they didn't keep good records back then, right?
Yeah, I guess. So, well, you know,
because the military is not really good at that. My God, I get yelled at for not putting the data in the right way.
Yep. So here's the account now from John's point of view. In 1998, we were standing in formation. Somebody saw something in the sky, and then they thought it was a satellite, and then the star stopped, moved away from us, came back, moved again. Sergeant orders to stand to attention. The captain of Delta Company, 1st Battalion, was walking out. There was a rushing noise, and he looked to his left. There's a bright light, an intense bright light. It was moving across slowly. And then here's the sleep thing I was talking about. I saw some of Charlie Company's men running out of their formation. Others were standing still. So I needed to take a better look. I leaned forward. When I leaned forward, this bright light just got really close, and it was headed between the tree lines. Blah, blah, blah. I looked at this thing, and I thought, I don't know what it is. Well, the guy was standing in front of me. I wanted to say something to him and ask him what it was. When I looked at him, he was asleep. His head was bowed, his eyes were closed, and he was asleep. I don't know what happened here, but I was unconscious for a few minutes. When I came to, I was looking down and couldn't move. I couldn't move my feet. And I tried desperately. So there's that sleep paralysis. He's got his conscious. His body just can't move.
I think it's some of his head. right?
No, he said he's looking down and I couldn't move.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's looking at his feet. He says, I can't move my feet.
Then he realized he could move his upper body again, so he turned to his right. He saw some of the men running the tree lines. Some were diving underneath the buildings.
How did he look at the guy in front of him if he's looking down? Or it happened to him later?
If he was looking at the guy first and then he fell asleep.
Then he fell asleep. He was looking at the guy,
okay.
noticed he was asleep, and then he went unconscious.
Asleep,
He was still, he could move his upper body, his legs could move. His buddy Alan pulled him. Take cover, da-da-da-da. We ran over to the captain. The captain was asleep. I screamed, wake up, da-da-da-da. The captain didn't wake up. So now they're still just dealing with this light. Okay, and they're saying, don't look at it. And we started to run. They're going to moving. We'd seen the shadows moving. He was coming out of the crawl space. And then they're still talking about the captain sleeping. Take cover. And then mommy. Here's the next. This is interesting too, because another person came out. There was a white light 50 feet from where they were laying down. It looked like the size of a melon, a small melon. It wasn't a tracer. It roller coasted down to the sergeant's height. He was waving his arms. He was screaming what's going on. He started running, disappeared in the second building. The next thing we heard was a slap and a thump. One of us, Hackett, crawled to the outside, and Santini was out.
He was cursing the sky. Telling us to take cover and cursing the sky because something was coming down.
Yeah, so he was yelling at the sky, God damn you. Everybody take cover. When Hackett came back, people were screaming. When it came to Delta Company, heard somebody screaming, mommy, a high-pitched scream that went down to a grunting form of scream. And basically he says, when you hear a man screaming like that, you know something's wrong. That's one of the things, when you got an adult screaming for their mommy, that's bad news happening there, guys. Just file that one in the back of your mind. And so they were trying to go back to the main post. Vasquez heard a voice. I forgot to mention that. And he looked down and saw a small frightened animal, which he labeled a possum. Heard the animal ask, what is it? And he answered back, I don't know. The animal walked away. Who are you talking to? One of them asked. He goes, Hackett, he's a Native American. You speak to nature.
This sounds like an ayahuasca trip.
So what is an ayahuasca trip?
It's kind of like another form of, instead of doing DMT, ayahuasca gives you the same, opens up your pineal gland, and you'll start seeing a different dimension, and you'll yourself. From what I heard.
So it's not experience.
So you gotta go out of the country to experience.
You ever see Dan by It Depends, then we know.
No, he's on an ayahuasca
we know what he's doing there tonight.
So I'd like to try it one day.
Yeah, right. Why not? So then he apparently did see a shadowy figure, kind of a little figure, scurry back into the light. And then a female voice asked, do you remember? And then now he talks about other stuff he remembers. And I don't want to necessarily go through this thing, but here, this is what he talks about, the rows of men lying on a slab. There was two things standing in back of me. One of them said, go to sleep. They're talking in their minds. There's nothing to be afraid. Something like that. Don't be afraid. And the thing wanted him to look in his eyes. Then he was shown a vision. The other one, I saw one was myself standing in an ocean, blue sky, and I'm standing in an ocean by myself. Another vision was a picture of the whole earth being destroyed, coming apart. And the other one was an image of a human face, a pale, paste white face.
The earth being destroyed, that's common.
It is,
being
isn't
abducted.
it? Yeah.
To try to change that direction.
How they say, and they say you need to treat the earth better because you're destroying it. Yeah. That's the Zimbabwe case. Yep. The kids were talking about that too.
Yeah.
About how they said that we're treating the earth bad. That is a big theme. So this story has kind of all of those hallmarks that you hear.
That kind of red flags it a little bit for me though.
Yeah, like somebody just made it up. But if you think about it though. I'd like to say that this was all done in 1977. It wasn't. It was in the 98s. But the earlier accounts, I'd almost say that those if you have more modern sightings and they're pulling from that. But at the time, even the Zimbabwe one, wasn't that in the 60s or was that the 70s? I can't remember the exact date either. Yeah. But the UFO thing, when you get a place like in Africa and a place in America, especially back, even in the 90s, the internet was still basically in its infancy. It wasn't nearly where it was. So the sharing of information was much more difficult back then than it is today. So your modern reports always have that asterisk, but you've got to almost pick a time where it's like, Okay, now as it's getting older, if you have two 1975 accounts in completely different continents and they have similarities, that to me holds a little more water.
I can see what you're saying.
If it was if indeed they were, those accounts were recorded at the time and not 21 years later, when maybe.
And I can see that. I just don't understand the timeline of this one really well. I wish they would say when they were going to back in the formation, like right here.
There it is.
And the thing of it is, he says second in line and fourth in line. We call them squads. I was in second squad and fourth squad. So
really?
Yeah.
I wonder if they just in line. I wonder if they just said that back then, or when that changed. But look at this. We felt like we drank 50 gallons of beer.
Like anybody could do that.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, all right. In one sitting. I'm sure people can drink 50 gallons of beer.
Oh, my God.
So, so then Sergeant Turner crapped himself. So, anyway, then they were told to go back to their barracks, and
some of the guys started getting sick, started vomiting. God damn.
Yeah. Some people were like, hey, wait a minute, aren't we going to do something here? And then he got sick.
Wait. Scroll
go back
up
to the watch.
Just a little bit. And my watch stopped at 7:40. I asked Jones, who was standing next to me, what time he had. He said 3:30. He asked a friend who was standing next to him, 4:45.
Wow.
So
not even consistent.
No, which is weird, right?
I suppose the time they got abducted is usually when it stops.
Well, yeah, or do they?
But if they're all froze at the same time,
or did they just freeze them and keep them down there, and then over 3 hours pull them up in groups or something, and maybe that's when.
So maybe only distort reality in the UFO.
Well, I was say usually it's when they enter the UFO that the watch stops.
So maybe it could have been that all these people were just in a slumber down there, and that's
why they fell asleep.
They couldn't handle 1,300 at once in the UFO, right?
Why would you even attempt to handle 1,300?
It's a good question. And then, Vasquez, when he went back to change, he noticed his shirt was buttoned funny, his trousers were undone. He found some paste glue around his trousers that was on him.
Sounds like a typical night of getting drunk.
Yep.
They took a trip down to Mexico.
Yep. It wasn't until 89 when he started remembering it. So Horton went through hypnosis. Vasquez just came back. So it would be very interesting to me. And if any of our viewers were involved in this, or had relatives that were involved in this, or down in Fort Benning in 77, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very interesting. I would like to see a little bit more.
Yep, they labeled it a measles outbreak, I guess.
That's something else. You had to wonder if maybe they all got vaccinations like a week before.
Yes.
I mean, I know how many shots they put in my damn arm.
Yeah, right.
Both arms, actually.
The guinea pigs.
And then these are the two letters and forms that I was trying to find.
Okay.
There's no link, and I Googled them, and I fucking couldn't find anything.
Don't you hate that?
Yep.
You're sitting here doing research, can't find the damn thing.
So, and then they try to justify his Vasquez credentials. He's not trying to make money. He doesn't want fame. And then here's Vasquez's take. Deliberately conducted against an unwitting battalion of seasoned troops to gauge their reaction. So he's almost saying that, hey, this was some sort of weird experiment that we were getting on. I mean, the government's experimented on its troops and civilians.
Yeah. Quite a bit, actually.
That's kind of what I got. Interesting one, huh?
Yeah, it really is.
Dan, you're really making me think now, and Dusty too, that, we think it's a UFO alien abduction, but... especially in this Cold War era and stuff, mind control was a huge thing.
Psyops
trying to manipulate Manchurian candidate stuff.
I think this is when they were starting to do all those underground bases too. So I mean, you got all that going on. Of course, they're gonna have projects of abducting people and stuff. Why would they not carry it over into military stuff? You got all those troops over whatever segregated. All us. Get in there and do what we need to do.
Yeah. But what's interesting with this, though, is that, we've got, bright lights. We've got, a triangle UFO. Vasquez saw a shadowy figure, things like that. And it would be really nice if we could get more and more witnesses to come forward to tell their story, to see if they varied. Because to have a mass hallucination where people see the same thing would be very difficult. You'd almost have to introduce the orb or something.
What's that going to do though? Because I mean, we have tons of witnesses on the Phoenix lights.
Right.
Yeah.
And here we are. It's just like,
Because
he doesn't mention anything in this about the UFO crashing though.
that was Horton's, because that's when the helicopters had come
but
in
he doesn't
allegedly.
mention that at
No,
all.
Vasquez doesn't mention anything either. Which Horton? So maybe we do have two stories that are kind of different. Which would almost then
fit into
indicate
what you said.
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
fit more into your military. What'd you call it? The
my lab.
military.
I'd have to look up the definition of it, or the acronym of it.
Yeah, it's an acronym.
But
Yeah.
it's military abductions.
That explains all those weekends. I don't remember.
You're just getting drunk and getting duct taped to your bed, from what I heard.
It happened.
So, unfortunately, both these guys are dead, so we can't get them.
Well, that's too bad.
Direct your questions to Paul Dale Roberts and David Runyon, I guess.
Well, yeah, and maybe you should email them.
Maybe I will send an email to him, and I can report in the comments section how
Just
that went.
do what I always do is I make up another email, like Gmail or something, and I just make up one that I'll only use for that, and then I send people emails like, hey, it's interesting.
You're worried
in
about
this.
people coming after you on your email?
No, I just don't, because my email happens to have like my name in it, and I don't.
Well, you got to
people.
get out there, just say F it.
Oh no, I say fuck it, all right. I'm like, hey, it.
Yeah, I mean, how else are you going to get the
I
black
started giving my phone
Suburbans?
number out to contact people.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do.
Depends. It depends.
Dan,
'cause,
what
like,
is your phone
something
number?
like-
Run it on the ticker on the bottom here.
It depends, because something like this, I would have
Dan a
made
call.
another email for, because I don't know, if this is the actual guy or anything like that. I'm not. But if it was somebody that I knew, like if I was emailing, I don't know, like Pete, and I saw his Facebook or something like that, and I knew the guy I'm actually contacting is the guy I'm trying
Yeah, but
to
you got
contact.
to be professional.
Yeah.
Oh, it's professional as hell. It's like
If he starts spamming, you just block it.
Yeah, right. You can do that.
I
Yeah,
got
see, that's the
4
thing
or
too.
5.
Once you put my name out here on the bottom of this, what's the
Yeah,
point of
it's
trying
already
to?
over.
Yeah, dude. Anybody can.
As soon as you put
find
your
out.
face on Facebook, you're done.
Yeah.
I got more than just my
Try
face on
cleaning that
Facebook.
up.
Yeah, right.
I clean up pretty
So
good.
I just stay well armed. I've got a good security system at home. I usually know when anybody's within a couple hundred yards
Yeah.
of the house. So
I got Skynet at the house.
do you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just I got my strategically placed defense mechanisms.
Yeah.
I got one of those drones from Donald Marshall's camp
Oh really?
patrolling my house.
Oh nice. He's out there right now. Yeah, you don't hardly have to feed him. He doesn't complain.
Self-sufficient.
Yeah. Is it a Mila Kunis drone?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I use it for other things as well.
Yeah. I was gonna really take us down the wrong path. But anyway, thank you everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a pretty interesting abduction case. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. Was this military? Is this really UFO? Or is this just a couple guys that just want some attention?
Got drunk or had an ayahuasca.
Yes. Head and ayahuasca. Post your ayahuasca videos too in the comments
Lord.
section. We'd like to see some of those.
Although we do not say you should do drugs of any kind.
Well, these
Correct.
are spiritual
Enhancement
from a plant
I
from
don't
the
need
earth.
any
It's,
enhancement. All right.
Yeah, because drugs don't come from
I
plants.
think it's
ever.
from the Amazon.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Pete. That was excellent.
Yeah, thanks, internet land. And remember, cheap is talk and talk is cheap. And we'll see you next time.
That's the beginning.
Don't worry about it.